And Adam White is with us, as he is every Thursday at this time. And Whitey, good morning. You've brought a very, very special guest in this morning.
I did indeed. Someone that's played a lot more finals footy than I have, Chris.
Yeah, no, that would be fair. In fact, he's a three-time All-Australian, runner-up in the Brownlow medal, St Kilda superstar, Nick Dal Santo. Nick, thanks for coming in, mate.
Thank you for having me. You were fortunate I didn't have much on about the next 8 weeks, actually, so you named me a little bit more. I'm more than available.
How would you sum up your season? It was a great finish, wasn't it, against a depleted Fremantle, but a great way to send three of your veterans, your much-loved, I suppose, players at the football club. It was a great way for them to finish.
Yeah, absolutely, particularly after a really frustrating year. It's difficult to come from where we've been for probably 10 years, and that includes playing a lot of finals, and then to have the year that we did this year and drop away so quickly, it's difficult to accept. But within that, there was a lot of positives, and I speak of the young guys and where the club is heading, I think. And to finish the last 2 weeks off, so we played the Gold Coast the second last round of the year and had a really good win, which was nice. And then fortunately Ross Lyon sent his under-18 team over, and we're very thankful for that.
Still looking after St Kilda.
No, it's fantastic. But no, it was a fantastic day for all Saints people, and they turned out, I think there was 23,000 there, and a really nice way to send off 3 veterans.
It was probably one of my favourite days at the footy in a long time, and I came along to commentate the game and thought this is going to be pretty hard work. Yeah. But it was a celebration of St Kilda, and in a sense an end of an era as well, with players like Cozzy and the Orny that you played so much footy with. How did you get through the day, and was it an enjoyable day or a sad day for you?
It was definitely mixed emotions. I actually went into the game a little bit nervous, and the reason I was nervous is I didn't want to ruin the day for those people who I cared a lot about.
And Blakey's the other one.
And Blakey, yeah, who I've become best mates with as well. So it was emotional. I mean, I choked up a few times. I got to speak about Jason Blake in the rooms before the game, and shook his hand for the last time. And it is emotional, and it's hard to describe what that's like, going through what we've been through for a long period of time. And you care about these people so much, and then this is their last opportunity to be a part of what's been something that's been really good for so long. So it was emotional. I was nervous going into it because I didn't want to stuff it up for anybody, but I've never been a part of a game that was a true celebration, and it was just a comfortable position to be in, probably after quarter time when we knew that we were probably going to win the game, to really embrace and enjoy what was a fantastic day.
What did you say pre-game, and
yeah.
Was there a particular thing that you said that got you a bit emotional? And who spoke about the other two that finished up?
Yeah, the thing that gets me emotional is I get a bit choked up, and when somebody else looks like they're going to cry, particularly when it's guys. It's shocking, and there's been a lot of guys that have retired over my time at St Kilda, and there's the Robert Harveys and Stuart Lowe's, Nathan Burks, and it's just difficult to see another guy emotionally struggling. So I was in that position. So what I said about Blakey, I actually put him down a little bit, but I was putting him down to pump him up. And my whole message was, what's his point of difference? What's given him the opportunity to play 13, 14 years of football, play over 200 games? He wasn't the quickest guy. He wasn't the most endurable. Doesn't have the best agility. So what is it? And I thought it came down to his heart and the way that he prepares himself, his diligence, his care for his teammates, and that's allowed him to play a long, long career and be really successful. So that was sort of my message for him. He's highly respected. I think there's a lot of things that the football world and supporters wouldn't actually see what he does. You can't measure, and it doesn't get brought up in a draft stat. You can't do it at the combine with the young kids, but he just cares a lot more than the average bloke, and therefore he's loved and appreciated.
Stop, you're choking me up.
Well, that's how I feel.
Just an extension of what Nick's talking about. Fortunate enough to be involved in match committee discussions with Jason Blake in that year in 2006. We'd play Sydney. The first bloke that Grant Thomas would put on the match-up board would be Blake versus Goods.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would look at that and say, surely that's a mismatch. But it wasn't. Blake thrived on that environment, thrived on that competition of it, but also because of the internal respect that he had that Nick's talking about, we had an enormous amount of faith that he'd get the job done. And more often than not, he'd get the job done, wouldn't he?
Absolutely. And he's playing everything from full-back on your Kurt Tippett type. He's played tagged in the midfield when I was younger on Shane Crawford, and then he goes forward every now and then. And rucks, obviously, which is ridiculous. But he's had a great career. And then Nick Rewalt spoke about Cozzy.
Right.
They spoke really well, as he always does.
Now, Nick's known to be emotional at times. How did he go with it?
He choked up a little bit, and that's when the room sort of slowed down a little bit. It was getting a little bit too much. And Lee Montagna spoke about Snides because it was his 200th game, and then Lenny spoke about Stephen Milne.
Fantastic.
So it was just a little 10-minute patch in the rooms before the games, and just to sort of to round out the day and to look forward to it.
And something you can't create. You can't create create that sort of,
From the
emotion
Yeah.
from the heart just before you run out, and you know, it's inspiring in a whole range of ways, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I guess I was a little bit nervous going into that first quarter, but it was just a fantastic day. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen a send-off like that over your careers, but in my 12 years of football, and that includes Robert Harvey. I know we lost that last game. That was a prelim, but we lost.
That was in Adelaide, wasn't it?
No, that was in Melbourne.
Oh,
We lost
that's
to
right,
Auckland
Melbourne,
in
yeah,
08.
that's right, yep.
And obviously we didn't get to celebrate it like we would have liked to for halves, but it's as good as I've seen for a long, long time.
I've never seen a celebration like a goal that wasn't though. What did you think happened?
Well, you know what? We'd already celebrated. It
Yeah.
did not matter. I was playing half back, so I was at the other end.
We're talking Cozzie's goal.
Yeah,
of course.
Cozzie's, yes. And I just saw him put his arms in the air, so I thought we're getting around him here, and we went over and ruffled his feathers and got around him, and then unfortunately, in typical Cozzy style, there was going to be something that wasn't going to be quite right. And, no, it's just sums the big fella up. But no, he's had a great career and done a lot of good things.
How do you sum him up? Because in a way he's been a maligned player because we've seen what he's been capable of doing at times, or is that his level, what we've seen over a 10 or 12 year period? I mean, he's a really hard one to assess because at his best he was unstoppable.
Yeah.
And would have he been better if he was at a club where Nick wasn't,
Yeah.
so he was the actual focal point?
That's exactly my point. I think he's played a difficult role and always in the shadow of Rui, and Rui deserves every single bit of credit that he people speak of him. Cozzy's difficult. He plays a little bit of a different role. He doesn't have the running capacity that Nick does. So Cozzy's game is basically contested marks, and when things were going really well, he was as good as they were, and there was, I think, a 4-week patch in late 2000s that he just dominated. But it's hard to keep that standard, and it's hard to keep that level of football. I think that he always played a role for our club, and that includes 2009, 2010 when we were making grand finals, that people didn't appreciate or understand the actual dynamics and matchups that allowed people like Nick to play a different role.
So can you explain to our listeners, when you say playing a particular role, what that is?
Well, obviously within the forward line, there's the talls and smalls, and I'll make it very basic. Nick attracts a defender, so Cozzy has to attract another certain defender, and if that defender doesn't go to Cozzy, then he's going to go to somebody else and potentially shut down our structures. So we were heavily based on structures and effort under Ross Lyon in the late 2009, 2010. So Cozzy drew a big opponent and allowed Nick to run in different positions, run in different patterns. But Cozzy obviously doesn't kick as many goals as Nick, doesn't get as many possessions.
And in simplistic terms, he acted as a decoy a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to, if it's really basic, that's what it was. But within that, we always knew we had Nick in a particular position, and if Nick was covered, he had Cozzy that was going to compete every single time a little bit deeper in the forward line.
And that was always a challenge to Cozzy because the game evolved to the point you couldn't be a see ball, get ball forward.
Yeah.
And when you had Gehrig, Hamill, Kaczynski, Rewalt in the forward 50 times in that mid-2000 period, he had to make the necessary adjustments because the opposition planned for predictability. And if those four guys were in the same area of the ground, they all went for the same footy, that would suit the opposition who'd want to put one back. Fremantle, for example, always had a good record against St Kilda because of that passage.
Yeah, we were probably blessed a little bit too much with tall forwards at that stage, and I distinctly remember trying to go down there as a young small forward and getting yelled at by the likes of Aaron Hamill to get out of his space, and you'd move a little bit to your left, and then Nick Rewalt to tell you where to go, and then Cozzy saying, give us an opportunity here.
Yeah.
We were blessed.
Fraser would just look at you.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I'll go up the other end of the ground, Fraser. No dramas, mate. It was it's tough, and there's it's difficult to explain the dynamics, but they need to work together. And I look at teams like Hawthorn with Buddy and Ruffy, and they're working fantastically together, but they play different roles, and that's exactly what Cozzy and Nick do.
All right, mate, we might get a break out of the way, but Nick Dal Santo along with Adam White with us right through until 8:30. Plenty to talk about. Just got a text coming in. I'll get your comment after the break, Nick. But Macca from Shepparton says, hi, Nick. Come and join us at the Tigers. You can play under a great man dimmer, share the tags with Koch, Lids and Dusty, get to play in front of massive crowds and full of adoring fans. We'll get a response in just a moment. It's 7:45.